It's really something how certain ideas just last, isn't it? We're about to jump into this book. It's nearly 100 years old now.
Yeah.
Written back in the 1920s. But it pulls its wisdom from like 6,000 years ago, ancient Babylon. Really makes you stop and think, that the basics of managing money, well, they aren't really new at all.
Absolutely. And today we're diving into The Richest Man in Babylon, George S. Classen's book. Think of this as us, pulling out the core stuff, the really actionable bits from those old stories. Our mission, it's to shed light on these rules for getting wealth, keeping it, and making it grow. They're surprisingly simple, but powerful, and just as relevant now as they were way back then.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't matter where you are in your financial journey, right? Just starting out, maybe. Or perhaps you've been investing for years, or you're just curious about, well, financial security basics. What we're digging into here, it applies across the board. Okay, so the book kicks off with this idea that money follows laws, kind of like gravity, And the foundation for this is what it calls the 7 cures for a lean purse. Let's start with number 1. Start thy purse to fattening. Basically save 10%, at least 10% of everything you make.
Right. And the insight there, the really key thing, is how it shifts your thinking about income. Arcad, who becomes the richest man, he finds out as a scribe that putting aside that 10th, well, it didn't actually mess up his budget much. It's that initial promise to your future self. Paying yourself first. Seems small, but it's huge.
It really is. And I love that simple picture they use, the egg merchant. Put 10 eggs in the basket, only take 9 out. Keep doing that, and your basket gets fuller. It's just about building that habit, that positive flow, even if it starts small. But, the first reaction people have is often, wait, save, but I want to enjoy life now. Isn't saving just constant denial? And Arcad tackles that head on with the second cure, control thy expenditures. Budgeting, basically. It's not about starving yourself. It's about deciding where your money goes.
Yeah.
Towards needs, sure, but also worthwhile desires. And it protects those goals from just sort of casual whims.
Exactly. And that leads right into budgeting, the second cure. It's not about restriction.
It's about control, yeah. Seeing where it all goes.
It's actually empowering. When you track your spending, you spot the leaks, as the book calls them, places you're losing money without realizing it. And it reinforces that 9/10 rule for spending. Live on that, save the other 10th, consistently.
Yeah. Okay, so you're saving the 10%, you're budgeting carefully. What's the logical next thing? Cure 3, make the gold multiply. This isn't just about piling up savings under the mattress, right? It's about putting that money to work, making it earn more money.
Yeah, that's the crucial step. And the book gives this example, lending money out for bronze making and getting rental income back. Even in that ancient setting, it shows the core idea, make your capital work for you. And they mention an investment growing, 17 times over 50 years? That really drives home the power of compounding. Your earnings start earning too.
17 times, wow. That really shows the long game potential. But naturally, where there's potential for gain, there's also risk. Which brings us to cure number 4. Guard thy treasures from loss. You got to protect what you've saved.
Yeah.
It's easy to lose it all with bad investments or lending it to the wrong people.
And Arcad's own story is the warning here. Trusting the brickmaker to buy jewels, bad idea. But the point isn't just don't make bad investments. It's why it was bad. He trusted someone outside their expertise.
Right, you wouldn't ask a musician for financial advice. Well, probably not.
Exactly. So do your homework. Understand the risks. Talk to people who actually know what they're doing. Get good counsel.
Okay, seeking expert advice. Got it. Now, cure 5 shifts. Focus a bit. Make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Home ownership.
Yeah, and it's framed not just as having a roof over your head. It's about stability for your family, maybe some space, a garden, but also, crucially, building equity, an asset. Instead of just paying rent, which, doesn't build your wealth, it's turning an expense into a potential investment.
Makes sense. Building that foundation. Okay, cure number 6 looks ahead. Ensure a future income. Planning for later life, retirement, making sure you'll have income down the road.
And what's really forward-thinking, especially for back then, is this idea of, pooling risk for the future.
Like insurance, almost.
Pretty much, yeah. Arcad mentions people making small, regular payments. So if someone died, their family got a lump sum. It's about thinking long-term, protecting against future problems.
A concept we definitely still use. Okay, last one, number 7. Increase thy ability to earn. This is all about self-improvement, investing in yourself.
Exactly. Your earning power isn't fixed. Learn new skills, get more knowledge, become more valuable. That directly boosts your ability to bring in more money. Wealth tends to grow where people put in the energy, right? Both in their work and in themselves.
So true. Okay, those are the 7 cures. But the book also talks about luck, or opportunity, personified as the goddess of good luck. And it argues luck isn't just random, it favors people who are ready, who take action.
Yeah, it draws a sharp line between pure gambling, which is chance, and seizing real opportunities in business or trade, which requires action. There's that story of the merchant who hesitated about buying sheep,
Oh, yeah.
missed out on a big profit because he waited too long. Procrastination is expensive.
That line about opportunity fleeing from procrastinators,
Yeah.
that sticks with you. It's really a push to be decisive, to recognize a good chance and just go for it.
But how do you know if it's a good chance? That's where the next bit comes in handy. The 5 laws of gold. These offer more guidance on managing the wealth you've started to build.
All right, these come from Arkad's son, Nomasir. Law number 1, well, it sounds familiar. Gold comes easily to those who save at least a tenth. Back to that core saving habit.
Yep, starts there. Law 2. Gold works hard for the wise owner who finds profitable ways to use it. Basically, invest wisely. Put it to work.
Law 3 builds on that. Gold sticks around if you invest it following advice from wise people. Again, that theme of expert counsel.
And law 4 is the flip side. Gold disappears if you invest in things you don't understand or without good advice. Ignoring law 3 has consequences.
Makes sense. And the 5th law.
Gold runs away from anyone trying to force impossible returns or following scams and bad advice. Stay away from those get-rich-quick promises. They rarely end well.
So Nomasir's story shows this, right? He messes up at first.
Totally. Loses his inheritance making mistakes. But then he learns, applies these laws, seeks good advice, and builds his fortune back up. It's a learning process.
A tough lesson, but a valuable one. Okay, then we meet Manthon, the gold lender. His perspective is interesting.
Very. Especially his token chest idea for figuring out borrowers.
Explain that a bit.
Well, he uses these tokens to represent different loans and borrowers. It helps him visualize the risk and the character involved. Like, there's the couple borrowing based purely on emotion may be risky. Then the farmer borrowing for seed, a clear path to repayment looks better. Or the mother wanting her son to be a merchant, but the son has no skill or drive. Probably not a good bet.
So it's about assessing the person and the plan, not just the collateral.
Exactly. And Manthon's advice to Rodin is timeless. Keep your gold safe, make it earn, but wisely. And don't take on other people's financial problems if they don't have a solid plan.
Good advice. Don't become someone else's safety net if they're jumping recklessly.
Precisely. Which leads nicely into the next section, the clay tablets.
Devassier's debt story. This feels very practical.
Extremely. He writes down his plan to get out of debt. It's super clear. 1, save 10% for himself, future building. 2, live on 70%, tightening the belt. 3, use the remaining 20% to pay back his debts systematically.
And how did people react? His creditors.
It was mixed. Some were angry, skeptical. Others saw he had a real plan and were willing to work with him.
And didn't someone, like, centuries later actually use this plan?
Yeah, this Alfred Shrewsbury guy.
Yeah.
Apparently he found the story, used Devassier's 107-20 plan, and got himself out of debt. It just shows a clear plan, and sticking to it works, even over thousands of years.
Amazing. Okay, shifting gears again. The luckiest man in Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like chance, but it's not, is it?
Not at all. It's about Sharonada. And the key takeaway is work, the value of work.
He started as a slave, right? Carrying bricks.
Yep. Had a rough past, but he worked hard, didn't complain, just did the job diligently. And his attitude, his willingness to work, impressed his grandfather, Orad Gula.
The guy he was enslaved to, initially.
Well, his master, who became his grandfather-in-law and then partner, Orad Gula, saw that work ethic and eventually made him a partner. Sharonada earned his way up through sheer effort.
So work itself can be the luck, the opportunity creator.
That's the message. Effort opens doors. Respect comes from diligence.
Powerful stuff. And then there's the metaphor of the walls of Babylon.
Yeah, those big, strong walls protected the city. And the book uses that image to represent financial security, building your own walls.
So today that means, what? Insurance, savings.
Exactly. Those are our modern walls. Insurance against disaster, savings for emergencies, solid investments for the long term. They protect us when life throws curveballs. They provide security.
A really strong visual. And finally, the book touches on the history of Babylon itself.
Just briefly. Reminds us how incredibly wealthy and advanced it was. Engineering, finance, writing. They were pioneers.
But it didn't last forever.
No. And that's the final, maybe sobering point. Even the greatest empires, the wealthiest cities, can fall if they lose sight of sound principles. It just reinforces that this wisdom isn't just quaint history, it's fundamental, enduring.
So wrapping this all up, if we boil down this deep dive into the richest man in Babylon, what are the absolute essentials?
Okay, well, first, pay yourself first. Save that 10% minimum. Make it automatic.
Right. Then control your spending. Budget. Know where your money goes. Live on the 90% or less.
Third, make your savings work. Invest it wisely. Let it multiply.
Fourth, protect what you have. Guard against loss. Seek expert advice before investing.
Fifth, think about your home. Owning can be a path to building wealth.
Sixth, plan for the future. Insurance, retirement savings. Secure your later years.
Seventh, keep learning, keep growing. Increase your skills to increase your earning power. Invest in yourself.
And importantly, recognize and act on opportunities. Don't procrastinate when a good chance appears.
And finally, if you have debt, face it head-on with a clear, consistent plan, like Dave Basir's 107020.
Wow. They really are simple ideas, aren't they? But put them all together.
That's the key. Simple, timeless, powerful. They cut through all the noise and focus on what actually builds financial well-being then and now.
So maybe the thought to leave you, the listener, with is this. Which one? Which of these ancient Babylonian ideas could you start using, or maybe just strengthen, in your own life right now, today? Because that path to a fat purse, as they call it, it really does start with understanding these things and then, well, actually doing something about it, taking that first step.